Hello, denizens of the Sunlight Realms. Solotl here, back at it again with another speed paint. I thought I'd shake things up a little with a character drawing this time. Meet Jinkiki, a Pathfinder character of mine. This character has gone through a few different iterations in their time. They've always been a tiefling, though their particular heritage has changed to suit their build throughout the variation. I used a reference of a guy with a sword to get the general gist of the pose. I leaned Jinkiki further forward than the reference to make it look a little more aggressive. The general concept of the character is pretty simple. They want to fight strong things to get stronger. Battle's the only thing they really care about. I definitely wanted them to be in the thick of the fight, tanking blows and dealing damage with their teeth and claws. Jinkiki 1.0 was a natural weapon barbarian. They're the first into battle with practically no fear, gladly soaking up the damage and wearing battle scars proudly. Nothing terribly unexpected there, except maybe the non-negative intelligence modifier? Jinkiki 2.0, or really maybe just 1.1, took a hard swerve into the ninja class of all things. I don't have my character sheet available for this, but I'm pretty sure I took the dip into ninja for some specific talents that sounded really fun. I think there were ones where Jinkiki could drop sneak attack damage dice to instead deal damage to a monster's armor class. This never ended up getting used in a campaign, but if it had, I would have reserved it for one where we would expect to face primarily monsters rather than humans in normal armor. The point, though, was that Jinkiki could wade into battle and leave their opponents more vulnerable to attacks by their teammates. This build did end up being a bit of a mess, though, because it required a lot of levels and sacrificing other, more versatile abilities. This version of Jinkiki was focused a lot more on not getting hit than soaking damage as well, so maybe that's why it didn't work so well. The face gave me a bit of trouble on my second sketch layer. I had it more tilted than the reference picture because I thought a straight-on profile would be a little stagnant. When I went to get the anatomy more in the right place, I kept tweaking and tweaking until when I stepped back, it was profile again. I ended up scrapping all that and restarting, going with my gut, and it works so much better. The most recent build of Jinkiki is probably my favorite. I went back to the tanky damage soaker of the barbarian build, but went with a summoner instead. What? That sounds like a squishy wizard, you may say. But nah, Pathfinder has an archetype to fix that. This Jinkiki that I'm drawing here is a synthesis summoner, meaning that instead of calling a companion to fight at their side, they become the beast. This archetype is actually banned from competitive play, but honestly I don't care. It's a cool as heck idea with a lot of potential. For this drawing, it's just Jinkiki in their natural form, no beastie. They actually have pretty darn good strength and constitution score, even without the Eidolon, so sometimes they wade into battle with their trusty falchion and just start hacking stuff up themselves. This iteration of Jinkiki has a bit more backstory too. Tieflings are typically born to human parents due to a distant devilish or demonic ancestor. Jinkiki was born marked on their face by a blessing of Lamashtu, Mother of Monsters, one of the deities of the Pathfinder pantheon. Their human parents wanted nothing to do with what they had brought into the world, but were terrified what might happen to them should they fail to care for a gift so clearly marked by a goddess. Because of this, Jinkiki grew up very aware of his heritage, and considers Lamashtu his true mother, believing her to have protected and guided him far more than his own flesh and blood ever had. The falchion he wields has no particular power, but was gifted to him by a worshipper of Lamashtu. Despite Jinkiki being an evil-leaning, chaotic neutral character, they can work well with a good aligned team. I always want to make sure the characters that I create for Pathfinder work well in a group, even if they're maybe not the best people. It's no fun if you're actively sabotaging your allies, you know? The reason they could work so well with them is because their philosophy says that working in a group is a strength as well. With others by their side, they can fight even stronger monsters than they could alone, and the better they can protect their companions and keep them alive, the stronger that proves Jinkiki to be. They also have no interest in causing unnecessary trouble, because sleeping in a nice inn with lots of hot food beats having to rough it in the woods hoping you don't get ambushed by city guards. They're also pretty amiable about splitting the treasure, with little interest in carrying around large amounts of coin or loose gems, preferring instead to adorn themselves with jewelry and tattoos of their victories. They have a loose awareness of the value of coin to others, but probably shouldn't be trusted with the party finances, as they are easily swindled if someone offers them something they want more. In social situations, they usually don't care enough to try to persuade or lie, so they'll let others do the talking. They've got the charisma to come across genial and honest, but they, have a certain way with languages. I always think it's fun to put a few skill points into linguistics, and for Jinkiki, while they may not be able to read super well, they were blessed by Lamashtu to have knowledge of several languages. Unfortunately, this means they oftentimes forget what grammar structure, words, or idioms belongs to which language. They don't really care so long as their point gets across, which it usually does. This feature works a lot better in text-based role-playing than it does out loud, so I'd probably change that aspect if I ever did a campaign with Jinkiki where I was expected to voice them. Their eidolon isn't pictured here, but is a quadrupedal form, built to look like a hyena with horns. Jinkiki fully believes they were a gift from Lamashtu in order to protect him. I found a list of joke names for demons, and actually found one I felt really fit. Gory killing machine with no other purpose. A bit of a mouthful, so I usually shorten it to Goki. Eidolons in Pathfinder are typically their own characters with their own drives and purposes, though their autonomy gets a little hazier when dealing with synthesis summoners. I don't have a full character arc in mind for Goki and Jinkiki, so how these two might grow and develop over time would have a lot more to do with whatever campaign they get dropped into. I do think that Goki would find a bit more autonomy as time goes on, and maybe a new name, but beyond that, I'm not really sure. I'd love to play this character again sometime and see how they might develop. Some design elements I really wanted to stand out for this character were how many adornments they have. I still think I could have gone harder in places, but I'm pretty pleased with what they've got. To go along with the aggressive nature of this character, I chose deep reds and yellows as the primary colors. The mark of Lamashtu is directly on their face for all to see. This has gotten Jinkiki into some trouble in the past, though it also means worshippers of the goddess sometimes view them as a bit of a blessed figure and offer aid. Jinkiki mostly just rolls with punches, seemingly unbothered by the negativity. The shading on this piece got pretty soft, and I think in the future I should be a little bolder with crisp shading lines. Though I do like how it turned out, especially around Jinkiki's face, as well as the gold of the jewelry. I think I'd like to do more of these in the future, to feature various Pathfinder characters or concepts I've had in the past. I have a lot at the brain bank, and it's pretty fun to dredge them back up to think about again. If you'd like to see more like this, you should subscribe and consider liking the video or leaving a comment. It always makes my day. And speaking of having a day made, I hope yours is wonderful too.